They exiled him to a rock in the middle of the sea. No trees, no fresh water, no friends, just wind, stone, and the kind of silence that drives men mad. And when his students found him there, they expected to find a broken man. What they found instead should terrify anyone who thinks loss can destroy them, because Musonius Rufus was not surviving on that island. He was thriving, and no one could understand why. How does a man lose everything, his home, his freedom, his name, and come out stronger than the emperor who banished him? Hold on to that question, because the answer is a 3-step code, and by the end of this, you will be able to use it tonight. Rome, 1st century. Nero is on the throne, and Nero is afraid, not of armies, not of assassins. He is afraid of one quiet philosopher who will not flatter him. Musonius Rufus teaches something dangerous. He teaches that a man's soul cannot be owned by any emperor, that you can take a man's house, his money, his title, and still touch nothing that actually matters. To a tyrant, that idea is a loaded weapon. So Nero does what tyrants do. He tries to erase him. He ships Musonius off to Gyros, a barren island so brutal that Romans used its name as a threat. Go there, and you were as good as dead. Prisoners wept when they heard the sentence. Some killed themselves rather than face it. And Musonius? He packed quietly. He said goodbye without trembling. And here is the first strange thing, the thing almost no one notices. On the boat to that island of the dead, the other exiles were falling apart around him, sobbing, cursing the gods. And Musonius sat among them, calm, and began to teach, as if the boat were a classroom, as if nothing had been taken from him at all. One of the men turned to him, furious, and asked how he could possibly be at peace. And what Musonius said in that moment became the first step of his code. But to understand it, you have to understand what he had actually lost. Everything. And that is exactly where the story turns. Think about what exile meant in the ancient world. It was not a vacation, it was a social death. Your name was struck from records. Your property was seized. Your friends were forbidden to speak of you, or they would share your fate. You became a ghost while your body still breathed. Musonius had been one of the most respected teachers in Rome. Senators sent him their sons. And in a single afternoon, all of it vanished. The applause, the students, the safety, the identity he had spent decades building. Gone. Now here is where I need you to stop pretending this is only ancient history, because you have stood on your own island. Maybe it was the day the job ended and you sat in your car in the parking lot, unable to move, wondering who you even were without that title. Maybe it was the divorce papers on the kitchen table. Maybe it was the funeral and the unbearable quiet of the house afterward. That feeling, the ground vanishing beneath you, the sense that the person you were yesterday no longer exists. That is exile, modern exile, and most people respond to it the exact same way those weeping men on the boat did. They ask, why me? They replay the past on a loop. They wait, frozen, for someone to come rescue them. Musonius understood something they did not. He knew that when everything is stripped away, one question decides whether you rebuild or rot. Not why did this happen? A different question entirely, and the men on that boat were about to hear it. He looked at the man who was cursing his fate, and he did not offer comfort. He offered something colder and far more useful. He asked him what, in this exact moment, he was actually prevented from doing. Could he still think? Could he still choose his response? Could he still act with courage right now? The man had no answer, because the terrifying truth was, nothing had been taken that mattered. And this is step 1 of the code. Step 1. Separate what was taken from what remains. Musonius taught that in any disaster, 2 piles exist. In the first pile is everything outside your control, your reputation, your possessions, other people, the past, the verdict of an emperor. In the second pile is something small and something absolute, your judgment, your character, your next action. The tyrant emptied the first pile completely, but he could not reach into the second, not with all the armies of Rome. On that island, Musonius proved it in the most physical way imaginable. Gyros was said to have no water, so while other exiles sat and despaired, Musonius went walking across the rock. He explored, he searched, and he discovered a spring the locals swore did not exist. He found fresh water on the island of death. Word spread, and people actually began sailing to Garros to study with him. He turned the emperor's punishment into a school. Let that sink in. The place designed to erase him became the place that made him legendary. This is the second step. Do not wait to be rescued. Act on the pile that remains, not someday. Now, with whatever is left in your hands. And notice, he did not act because he felt inspired. He was exhausted, alone, betrayed. He acted first, and the strength came after. Modern psychology has finally caught up to what he knew 2,000 years ago. They call it behavioral activation. When people collapse into depression and grief, the instinct is to wait until motivation returns before doing anything. But the research shows the opposite is true. Motivation does not come first and produce action. Action comes first and produces motivation. You do the small thing while feeling nothing, and the feeling follows the movement. Musonius walked to find water before he felt like walking, and the walking is what saved him. Which brings us to the hardest step of all, because finding water is one thing, but how do you rebuild an entire self, a whole identity, from bare rock? That is the third step, and it is the one that changes everything. Here is where we return to the question we started with. How does a man lose everything and come out stronger than the emperor who broke him? The answer is the third step, and it is almost unbearable in its simplicity. Musonius taught that hardship is not the thing that ruins you. Hardship is the training. He compared himself over and over to an athlete. An athlete does not curse the weight. He picks it up on purpose because he knows the resistance is the only thing that builds the muscle. Musonius said that we should not pray for an easy life, but for the strength to meet a hard one, and he believed that a difficulty faced correctly does not subtract from you. It forges something in you that comfort never could. So on that island, he stopped seeing exile as a punishment happening to him. He started seeing it as the final exam he had spent his whole life preparing for. Every lecture he had ever given about endurance. Now he got to live it. The loss was not the end of his philosophy. It was the proof of it. And that reframe is the entire difference between the man who breaks and the man who is forged. Now bring this home to your own island. The thing that fell apart in your life is not just wreckage, it is a weight. And you get to decide right now whether you lie under it or lift it. So here is what you actually do tonight. Take out a single sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write everything this loss took that you cannot control. The outcome, the person, the past, what others think. Look at that list and then release it, because none of it is yours anymore. On the right side, write 3 things still in your control tonight, not next year, tonight. 1 honest conversation, 1 walk, 1 small task you have been avoiding. Then do exactly 1 of them before you sleep. That is behavioral activation. That is Musonius, walking to find water. You are not trying to rebuild the whole life in 1 night. You are just proving to yourself that the second pile still exists, that the core of you was never actually taken. Do that for enough nights, and something quietly astonishing happens. You look up one day and realize you did not go back to who you were. You became someone the old life could never have produced. Musonius outlived Nero. The emperor who tried to erase him died in disgrace, and the exile came home and kept teaching. The rock that was meant to be his grave became the proof of his strength. So remember the code: when your own ground gives way, separate what was taken from what remains. Act on what remains before you feel ready, and treat the weight as training, not punishment. You were never as fragile as the loss made you feel. You were being forged. And if this reached something in you tonight, stay close, because the Stoics left behind more of these buried tools than you can imagine. And we are just getting to the ones that matter most.